Well, Tom, here it is. Here's your bench, man. This is a workbench for a friend of mine. I say friend of mine, we've never been able to hang out together, much as I would like to, but I've known him for a few years, off and on, in a bowling alley. And my wife, bookkeeper, worked for him for a while doing his books, and he was really, really nice to her. He's a really nice guy, and he had been at my house and seen my Arubo bench, and he's in the pool business, mainly the decking, plastering, the tiling, that type of stuff. I guess he replasters pools too as well. And he got into bowling, met this gal who was a pro, Robin Romeo, and later they got married. But he got interested in how balls were made, laid out and everything, and he got to where he actually not only learned how to lay out balls pretty good, but he got into drilling. He got his own equipment. He's not a pro shop, but he would do it as a hobby, and he got very proficient at it, so much so that he exclusively drills all his wife's bowling balls. And remind you, she's a top Hall of Fame pro, Robin Romeo. So he's no slouch at what he does. Anyways, they were moving. We were one day at Orleans Golden Ladies Tournament. We were talking about how he's moving and mentioned some things about his bench, and he got a new home he's building in Las Vegas, which they moved to. And one thing led to another. So you know what? You've been so good to my wife. I'll build you a bench. But I'm going to do it like I do, like I want to. And I can put one together with my nail gun and some plywood and 2x4s within an hour or so. But I want to make you one like I did my bench, more or less. And he said, sure, yeah, sure, okay, that sounds great. So anyways, we didn't talk about money because I really wasn't thinking about even charging him anything. I was just going to do it for him. So this is it. And since then he's sent me a check for a certain amount of money, but that's not the main thing. So this is it. This is all double mortise and tenon, 4x6 legs, because it had to accommodate the 4x4s coming in at different angles, so I get the tenons to work. Raised paneling on both the ends and even the back, even though it's going to a wall. I put raised paneling in it. This big drawer is for his ball spinner. These glides are rated for over 100 pounds. This one drawer is made all out of 3/4 plywood for his machine. He goes in here, puts a bowling ball in there and spins it. I was going to talk to him later about how to get the electrical in it, because in this one bay, 2 bay, 3 bay, there's no bottom in here. So the whole thing is open at the bottom. So specifically so you could run cords through there if you need to. The drawers, now I know that some of you might be thinking about why they open like this. Normally drawers open this way, and you would think maybe they would both open this way, maybe. This is not a set of kitchen cabinets. This is not something, some woman's bedroom or something like this. This is a man's workbench. And I kind of want to do something a little bit different, And so I made them this way. Kind of contrary to what you normally do. Original Bloom hinges, 170-degree motion hinges. The bottoms here can lift out. They're 3/4 panels. These panels here, 1/2-inch panels, they're adjustable. And both drawers, same on both sides. Now the accoutrage to these drawers. These drawers here are deep, 6 inches. The reason why I made them deep is because I took the time, and it was a lot of time, to put sliding trays in here. 2 layers of sliding trays, and with the third, you got 3 roughly 2-inch deep compartments for tools, whatever. It's completely removable. The whole inside can come out, or you have just a drawer. Some people don't like this kind of stuff. Some people do. I personally do. And I made a whole bunch of these other pieces so that he can make pretty much any configuration he wants out of these shelves, sliding shelves, to arrange whatever. Because even though I know he drills bowling balls, it's also a workbench. He might want to do who knows what else. All the drawers are box joint drawers, and what you'll see later in the video coming up is something I was thinking about. What can I do for him? It's a little bit different. So I made the top out of 2x4s, glued together, surfaced both sides on my bench with the router, and it's dead nut square. I made the top, which you can't see, like a bowling lane. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and unscrew this and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, you see that? There's the foul line. There's the arrows. There are the tracers here, both sides. And there's the pins. So it's only a 6-foot bench. From foul line to the pin is 60 feet, and the pin deck is probably maybe another 3 feet or so. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But this is what I did. I did a little extra. Some people will call this inlay work. I wouldn't. I did some real inlay work in France when I was there, and I would call this just glorified Dutchman work, because it's real simple. It's not that hard to do. But, you know, it was something different. The man's into bowling, and he has got a very unique bench now. No, I can guarantee there's no other bench like it. So, this is what I did for him. So, Tommy, there you have it. Here's your bench. It's ready to go. I know we talked about it as far as you're going to get a trailer over here. You've been asking for pictures, and I wouldn't show you, and so I thought I wouldn't be so mean, and I'm putting up a video right now, just a short video for you, so you can see it. I'll be uploading it pretty quick here, and I'll give you a call or text you as to how you can get to it. I'm going to make a much longer video, because most of my videos are for like beginners, and I'm going to make a video in terms of how I actually did everything. The mortise and tenon, the layout. I'm a big advocate on story poles, how to do things with a story pole, as well as the inlay work for the deck, and gluing a top like this. You know, gluing a top like this to where it's. I'm pretty stickler about how to glue things. So a lot of procedures that I'm not going to put in this film here. After this video, I go through some of the aspects of the drawers and whatnot, but you know, you can blow through it if you want. You don't have to really sit through the whole thing. Mainly, this is your bench, and you can see why now I'm concerned about how we strap it down in the trailer so it doesn't move. So that's it. I hope you like it. Hope you have a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's all nice and pretty, but this is your bench. You want to cut into it, you want to chop it up, you want to sand on it, whatever. It's your bench, man. You do what you want to it. But this is the way I like to do them, and this is the way I work with them. And that's how I roll, baby. So other than that, I was happy to do it for you, and I'm very pleased that you were so good to my wife all through the years when she worked for you, and that's the main thing. That you're good people, and I guess that's it. My gift to you. Right? Okay, Tommy. See you later. Bye. So here we have a picture of the undercarriage that I made for this transport of this bench. The wheels that are attached to the bench only bring the 4x6s up about a half inch, and I want to provide more protection for the bench itself, going up and down ramps, what have you, in the trailer. The 2x6 you see in the center, that fits in between the 4x4 stretchers, And of course the rings there are for tie downs, and then I'll have 2x2s go across to keep them in place. But it fits real well, real snug, and it's a very simple design, very simple to install. I have a big 2x4, 8-foot length piece of 2x4 with a little notch cut into it. So I'm able to, on a 4x6 piece of scrap wood, raise one end up, slide those under, and drop it down on the a little wheel device there, assembly. Real simple, and it works real well. Next picture you're going to see right here is how it's strapped. You see how the 2x2 keeps it in place lengthwise. It's secure within that board in between the two 4x4s, and of course those two straps are just to show you how it would hook up, because I had furniture blankets on top of the top. These are they are not tight, but it worked real well. It's very simple to make, and here we have this 2x4s standing in the back, up in the back of the shop there, and there's my Rumo bench. I'm getting ready to make the glue up, and this is how I go about preparing for a big glue up like this. I protect my bench real well. I don't believe in tearing it up ridiculously. Now, clamping. You can't have enough preparation. Understand what you're clamping. Have the clamps that you need right there. Don't have to look for them in the middle of the glue up, especially doing something like this. Now, what I did was I took and glued 3 2x4s at a time. And then, after I had those glued up and they set for 3 days, then I came back and put the assemblies together and then glued them up. Because what I do is I glue all the surfaces. I don't just put wet one side and then glue it to dry. I never do that. I know it works. The best way is to glue one side decent, and I don't mean where it's sloppy, pouring all over the place, and the other side a light coat. And I mean a light coat, so that when it hits, those two moistures will come together and grab. When you put a wet up against a dry, and there can be little pockets there that it won't grab. And that's why when you see some of these laminations come apart, take a look, because it's dry there. And moisture gets in there or whatever. With the system like I'm talking about, you have such a high percentage of security that it will not come apart. It's the best. It's proven, and it's the best way. So have all your members together. Here is going to show the assembly, so they're already glued up to 3 members at a time. I have 3 cross members, and those cross members have a slight bow to it. I made sure, top and bottom, so that when the pressure goes to it, it's pressure from the center all the way out to the ends. A lot of times, you put a straight piece, you're actually putting all the pressure on the outer part of your clamping, and not really in the center. You need to have a little bit of a camber in there. So I put them all up there. I put them all face up, that you'll see where when I'll roll. And now I'm rolling on 2x4s. If I was working on a panel, I would use a squeegee. I'd pour the glue on. I use a squeegee to move it around. But in this case, a little narrow piece like this, I'll use a roller, and it seems to work real well. And in this picture here, you're going to see how I have them all laid up to where right next to each other, and I'll glue the whole surface decent again. I'm not going to flood it, but decent coat, right? And then when I put them down in place, they'll be wet on wet, and then they'll be 2 dries looking at each other, and I'll roll them. I'll get those 2 ends rolled, even though I'm holding the roller vertically, but still, I don't have to be dripping glue all over the place. You'll see my bench is pretty clean after it gets done gluing up. I'm not anal about being clean, but I mean, there's a good way to do things, and there's not. There's no reason to have it all sloppy all over the place. It's just not, it's sloppy work. Here they are. They're all glued. Not tight, they're glued. I got the cross members now, and I got them snug, all right? I got them snug. And now I'm going to start putting the pipe clamps across, top and bottom. And as I gradually cinch everything up, then the pressure, it comes in a sequence, so that everything is glued and clamped and secured really well in a nice fashion. Now that's going to sit that way for 3 days. The rest of the stock I had, I just put on top. Here is the panels I'm going to use for my sled. Those 4 slots there, oval slots. The pipe clamp will go through there, and the pipe will rest on the bench, and each end will go onto the outside of the runners there. They're made perfectly straight. I planed it perfectly straight. You can see how the clamps are on the side, and I have the bench now sitting on blocks with a little angle of metal. The block doesn't go all the way through; it's just sitting on blocks. And you'll see the next where I'll have my sled. I level everything up, but the main thing is to get dry line, a good dry line, and cross string it to get the surfaces parallel. And I mean, like I said, a cabinet, you want that face parallel. The 2 ends of the cabinet, you want those faces parallel, whether it's plumb or not plumb, you want them parallel. And in this next shot here, I got a video, and I'm going to talk about it. Okay, here we are. This is section I want to show you. I think it's really important, and it's something that any apprentice will learn early in his like finish framing, setting doors, whatnot. Pretend this is like a door jamb. Now, I've got this perfectly level, and I've got this end over here perfectly level over here. What I'm going to do, this is relatively straight also. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to cross string it, and this is some dry line, and you really should get the really good stuff, because the really good stuff you can pull it. This is not the real good stuff. I didn't realize I was getting this junk, and if you pull it too hard, it'll snap. But good dry line is made to where you can really stretch it, because what you want to do is take the sag out of it. And when you're doing concrete, you're doing long runs, you want that thing as straight as you possibly can, or you're doing a big subfloor and joisting, and you got a long run, you want that line to be really straight. So what I'm going to do is I've got 2 nails down here. One is going to hook the string. This one is going to come over. Actually, let me get this down here, because I want this to be unobstructed. I'm putting a real loose knot in it. It's like this. I'm going to show you. You take a string like this and go like this. There you go. And you pull it through, and you've got a loop. Okay, it'll choke up. Put that on your main screw below. Now you got nothing but string. Okay. From here, I'm going across the other corner. Under a nail here, go right across to this one, and I'm going to go across to the other corner over here. Now, you want to how you tie it up. Here's one of the best ways. You take the loop, twist it around 3-4 times. You get it down in there. And you cinch it up. And that baby's tight. But this is not the good stuff. So it's not as tight as I'd like it to be. But that'll work. Now, you see what you got here? You want to see what this line is doing. Now, if you want to get real technical, you'll put another piece of string under here like this, and let me cut a piece off. And you put another piece of this over here, because this is the top string. So what you want that to do is to get just to where it touches the string and not pushes it down. Now, as it is, this is showing that this is low, which I knew it would be. So what I want to do is tap that end up to where the string just touches. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Good? Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. And that is good. The top string just touches this bottom string, just touches it. And yet when I push down, the top string doesn't move at all right? And yet the top string is just touching it. Now, again, this is not the real good string. It should be more elastic, or I can really stretch to get some tensile strength on it. But you know, for this is all right. You know, this is not bad. And I guarantee you, when you do a surfacing like this, homemade, you know, you're not in a machine shop with pristine machines. If you're hardcore, you're going to look at it and you're going to put your two end pieces on there with your shadow lines to see if it's really perfect. Put your straight edge. I guarantee you'll find some discrepancy somewhere, somehow. But I'll tell you what, for doing in the shop, trying to do and make what we're making, it's not bad at all, really. I mean, this is really getting right down to the dead nuts of where you want this to be, you know. So what we're doing is we're getting our two rails straight. The next thing we're going to do, with the two rails established and straight and all cinched up, we're going to now raise this table up to how much we want to take off it. And we'll reference off the edges of these rails, because these rails, we know, are real righteous. They're right on the button. Okay, so I hope that made some sense. And believe me, this is what you do to set a door. You put the door jamb up, you get usually your hinge side, you'll make that straight, plumb meaning vertically straight. The best is with a plumb bob, but nowadays, you know, we use a good level. There's ways of checking a level to see if it's good also. Sometimes you buy them brand new, they're not always right on the button. But you plumb that end, make it very square with the other side, you know, it's not twisted or like that, top and bottom. Secure it with your wedges and your screws, and then do the same thing. Nails, boom, cross string and down. And then as you set that header, it's loose, the header and the strike jamb, you move it around, put your wedges in there, you got your spreader at the bottom for the same width at the top as the bottom, so it'll give you some rigidity so you can move it around. And then once you get it dead nuts, put your screws or nails, however you're doing it, and you're guaranteed that jamb is set. If there's something wrong, when the door closes, it's probably with the door or something. But your jamb is plumb, the legs aren't flipping out, you're not leaning forward or backwards, your door's not going to close or open by itself. And of course, that's another way. If you had like a chicken coop or something, you wanted a door or barn door to close, tilt it, and it'll close by itself. You don't need if that's what you want to do. So, you know, there's ways of doing things to it, you know, out of the ordinary that helps you, you know, like a gate or something. You know, you might want the gate to close by itself, you know, leave it. So, anyways, that's it. Keep on going, and I'll get this thing set up, and I think maybe from now on it'll just be pictures, and I'll be giving some background in the video. Okay. I hope you got something out of this. Catch you later.
Okay, here we got the sled in action. Now, my router base on this router, woodworking router, has a flat side to it, which I like, because in a situation like this, where I'm making this this sled for the router, it does not twist and turn. It stays right where it's at, and it's snug to where its movement is very free and easy, but it's very true and accurate. There's no slop in it. I don't particularly need an accurate side-to-side cut. In this case, I'm surfacing. I'm not making dados or slots or shoulder cuts. But it's good to have just a nice sled, because I'm using sled for a lot of other things. As you can see, the two 1-bys where I'm standing, how they straddle the plank there, it is just so smooth and so effort. It's a very simple design, but yet very functional. And the other thing is, I'm going to use this to surface, to tune my bench. My bench needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And I am going to figure out a way to catch all this sawdust. Man, I'll tell you, this is terrible. I don't like to work like this. I'll come up with something to catch all this sawdust, and then my little apparatus will be complete. But it's a very simple setup. And it turned out real well. I surfaced both sides, flipped it over, and the two thicknesses are exactly the same. And of course, when I cut it, all sides are parallel and it is square. So what we have coming up here is my layout. I am a stickler for story poles. Prints are fine. I know in some areas you need details, but for something like this, 2 story poles, a long one and a short one for the vertical. The long one is for the length, and the short one is for the vertical. And you mark all your drawers, your locations. You even mark your gaps. So everything is calculated. In this case, I had a block there that I was trying to figure out how I wanted to make my double mortise and tenon. And this one I realized I needed a 4x6, because 4x4 just weren't going to work, and I didn't want to go exotic cuts and 45s and all that kind of stuff. So you can see here now my pieces are all cut. They've been through the joiner. They're all precise. And instead of measuring all the time, you take your story pole and you lay it right on your piece, and you make your marks for, in this case, we're talking about mortising. And what I came up with is a 1/2 inch shoulder and cheek cut with 2 3/4 tenons and a 3/4 gap in the middle. And the way I sized my materials to where it would work out that way, and then I would cut them on a bandsaw, and I'd take that center section out with my hollow chisel mortise. It worked out really, really slick. It said, well, I hammered and chiseled in the middle. None of that took place. See that mark there? That's how we mark them in France. I know these 2 pieces go face to face like that, and that's the top and the bottom. You do this like for jams or 2 ends coming together. Figure out some design you want, but it's very simple, a very unique design. You have got to mark all your pieces, because when you have multiple pieces coming together, you have to know which end goes where. You can easily have a mistake and turn a whole assembly the wrong way, and even though it fits, by the time you start leveling everything up or measuring everything, next thing you know, something is not quite right. There's a story pole resting right on the material. It shows how accurate that is instead of measuring. You can see right exactly where you're at, what you have, and you mark that with probably a little piece of wood. Here's the bottom, 4 inches of a toe kick, and there's the bottom 4-bys coming into that leg assembly. I mean, I can't say enough about a story pole. You learn how to use a story pole, you can do anything. Here I have pencils. I have a very, very sharp chisel, and I sharpen all my pencils with a chisel, and that's how I always, since I'm an apprentice. I've got mechanical pencils, but they're more of a pain in the butt to me than than using a regular chisel and a pencil with a chisel. A little snap and all that shit. I just, I don't know what it is, but they're okay for some things, but I personally don't care for them. I have them. I always have one on me, probably for writing on paper or something, make a detail drawing or something, but marking my wood, I use a carpenter pencil and a regular wood pencil, and I use a chisel to sharpen the edges. I get very, very fine points on my pencils. So there it is. Here's a little showing some of the dry fitting. You see the double tenons are coming out. There's the cross members there. Shoulder and cheek cuts have been made. Make those on the on my sled, and then I cut them all the rest with the bandsaw. But I make the initial cuts on my table saw. And there it is. You see at the bottom there, the two double mortars there at the bottom, and at the tops also, where the cross members would come in a long stretcher at the back. One stretcher in the back, no stretcher in the front. With this type of top, I won't need to worry about any sag or what have you. And of course, I got two webs in there for added support that's really needed. And just kind of show the dry fit, how everything's going to look.
Okay, here it is. This is Tom's bench that I finally got back to working on. I had a spell there where it was so cold I couldn't afford to glue, and I had other projects that prop up in the meantime. So anyways, here we are. As you can see, I already glued up the two ends, and I checked everything, how it fits. This is for a beginner. It could be a problem because something like this. There's 18 connections here, and pockets, I should say. You've got to be careful how you proceed in a glue up situation, because, for example, I've got this set up to where it's upright, and this bottom section is going to glue into the two legs. This goes up on top, okay? Because I have only one top rail. This is the front. I'm not having a rail at all in the front. I want it unobstructed, and the top is going to go all the way through. So my drawers will go up. I don't want a 4-inch recess and all that. I want the full width. Now, when you're gluing up really anything, you want to not only make sure it's tight, but that it's square. Now, this has several areas in being square. It's got to be square this way. It's got to be tight on all the joints. It's also got to be square up on top, but it's also got to be square on the diagonal, which means usually you have to rack it in some way. It's never always perfect. It can be, but it's just the way it is. So how you set it up position-wise and start gluing is important. The way I have it right now is not right, because when this top piece goes in, I want to check it for square this way. All right, vertical, and the only way I can do that is to have this end up like this, so I can run my clamps caddy corner, whichever way I need to rack the carcass. So that's all I wanted to say, is bring this up to you, is that when you're gluing something that's it got a lot of points to it, it can be tricky. You've really got to pay attention, to what you're doing, think it out. You've got to have your clamps already in position. You don't start gluing and then start looking for clamps. I mean, that's suicide. But especially what type of glue you're using. If you're using a resin glue, well, man, you probably got all the time in the world, But in some cases, you really should use resin glue because it takes longer to set up, so you got more time to adjust things and get things just right. For some reason, I don't care for it, but I've never had to really do it. I've had so much experience in doing something like this that once I get going, I can pretty much have it handled. But there are some things, especially in furniture, that it's got to be very critical, and you have to glue a whole section at a time. There's really no hard and fast rule about it. But I'm using regular type-on glue, when you're taking time to really coat all your tenons and your mortises really well, it can be a situation. But main thing is have your clamps out. So I'm going to set this thing up the way it should be, and then start gluing it up and see what we end up with. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay, here we are. A couple of things I want to talk about this bench of mine. Small garage, small place to work in. But I'm telling you, when I put something on this bench to plane or saw or whatever, it does not move. Now, I see all these nice planes, and I don't mean to be too critical, but if you're doing some fine work, how can you really saw correctly or chisel or whatever, and your bench is moving all over the place? And not only that, again, a small area, right? I'm building a workbench for a friend of mine. I'm putting this bench, 6 foot long bench, on top of my bench, and I have all kinds of room still to work on. Now, the only thing is, something that's big, you got to turn it, right? So you got to work on both sides. Right now, I have the back to me, right? Not a problem. While I was going through the garage and cleaning out a few things, I found 2 lazy Susans. One's plastic, and the other one was just a plastic ring on ball bearings on a piece of plywood. I believe plywood. Actually, yeah, it looks like a plywood. I kept them for some reason, and look at this. You saw what I just did. There's no way to do anything. Yeah, you think about it. And just wedge it up with some big wedges, and I'll bring it back down, and I can work in the front and back, because I got a lot of work to do interior. I got some raised panels I'm going to make. I don't want to be on the floor, bending down doing all. So I'm going to do all I can on the bench here to make the drawers and the doors, and then I'll unload it and lower it. I'm going to be putting some wheels, retractable wheels on the legs, so it can be moved around. But again, just showing how, to have this, have to work on a sawhorse. You can do it. I know you can do it. Sawhorses and 2x4s, whatever. I've done it in the past, right? But you get a bench like this, solid, heavy, 638 pounds, this baby. That's empty. I've got a storage unit down here that's 6x down there, 4x6. I mean, yeah, no. Yeah, 6x6. I put an elemental at the bottom, so I have all that storage. For right now, I've got my planes and whatnot. I've got all my drawer glides in there, and I've got some other hold downs I bought before. I didn't like them. They're down there. That's some more weight. So this thing's going to be with all that. It's got to be over 700 pounds because I have several sets of drawer glides. And they are heavy, 30 inches, 20 inches, and all that, with the wheels down there. Anyways, I'm just saying that if you can, go as big as you can, so you've got something that's solid and doesn't move. Now, if you're making little tiny things, not a question, not a problem. But I make drawers, I make cabinets, big things, and here all different types of stuff, and here I got a bench on top of my bench. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that. I'm doing the cleaning work right now, getting ready for the panels. I have panels inside and outside going on, so I'm doing some cleaning work. I'm going to put some cleats in I'm on the two areas. You're going to have a storage area. This one bay here will be open because it's a big drawer here for my buddy's ball spinner. He drills bowling balls for his wife. She's a professional bowler, and a small drawer at the bottom. So I'm not going to. This will never be a question of anything. So I'm going to leave this open. Other than that, I'll be doing just doing some prep work for the door glides, and then again tomorrow I'm going to start working on the raised panels and whatnot. So that's it. Just want to show you, how a little ingenuity you can really solve anything. But the best thing is, it's up on a bench. It's not down on the floor, crawling around. So anyway, that's it. See you in a little bit. The next progression of this bench. Okay, here we are. I've got all the webs installed, and I've got the bottoms on the two areas that are going to be going to receive drawers and storage at the bottom. And I made the bottoms loose, just in case there's always something that might get underneath your bench or something or whatever, and to have to destroy it and take it apart. And I thought it'd be a lot easier just to make them removable. If you ever want them fixed, you could always screw them down yourself. But if I screw them down now and he'd like them removable, so I did that way. Again, these webs are here. Again, they also add support. Not that I think it would need it, but to the top, because there is no rail going across the front. I want that all the extra room unobstructed with another 4x. I had already, before I did all this interior work, I had already put 5 coats of urethane on the outside and sanding in between, mainly so that as I'm handling it, because I sanded everything really nice and pristine, and it looks so nice. I want to keep that look, because as you're working with it and you're handling it, it just gets it gets soiled and it loses the look. Plus, it starts to age a little bit, just those few days, whatever. So this way, I kind of captured as much of the beauty as I could with the urethane. And the back side has got urethane, but not as many coats. So what I'm going to do is when I finish what I'm doing here, which is the raised paneling work, I'm going to recoat everything and then really sand this down really good and put some more coats on it. I'll probably put another coat all the way around. More coats the better. So yeah, raised paneling. I've turned it around. You saw how I turned it before with Lazy Susan, so I've turned it around now. The back side is facing in front of my bench. So I have the two ends and the back to do some raised paneling work. Now, this is really for someone who's never done it before, the novice. All you heavy hitters, go watch something else. It's going to be boring to you. I'm using stock from what you call a big box store, Lowe's. I'm not getting the raw wood and planing it down. This is for the beginner. You get the 3/4. This is 3/4 clear pine. Not bad, And I'm going to check it for. I got 3 2x10s. I'm going to have 2-inch rails, stiles and rails, all the way around. 1 in the middle, 2-inch. I'm not going to worry about the different sizes. Usually you'll have a larger piece at the bottom than at the top. But I'm just going to go simple. I don't want to. This is the back, anyways. Probably against the wall, but it's just it's a tool. It's a workbench. So I'm just making it a little nicer for my buddy. So 2-inch stock, typical, all the way around, for the frames. And again, all clear pine. And then when I get done with it, I'll put a little trim around the exterior. I'm probably leaving an 1/8-inch gap, so it goes in and out real easy. If it has any movement, whatever, got some room there. And just a very small little trim at the bottom. And what else? You can see all my cleaning is done with a 1x2, again, pine. And about the construction of these panels. Now 2x10 because one 2x10, a 2x10 on each end vertical is going to be fine. And usually that's what I want to talk about, the grain. Usually when you're doing any kind of paneling, wainscoting, whatever, your longer runs the grain goes lengthways. Just like on a big conference table, your grain would go the length of it. I heard one time, watching a program, and this one designer wanted his fellow, Christian, what's his name, Beckfoot, great furniture maker. He was working with a designer. You can tell he didn't like it, and I understand because I worked with designers too years ago. But mine were remarkably wonderful. I saw it saying, what the world is this going to look like? And when I got in, it was great. But this designer wanted him to make a conference table with the grain going crossways. And you could see everybody in a room just like almost wanted to throw up. You just don't do that. The grain should go the lengthways. So anyways, on this area here, long, the grain is going to go this way. Where the short ones, the grain is going to go vertical, like up on a door or something. Paneling, vertical, up and down. 2x10s, I'm going to glue two together for this long run. But later, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pre-cut them to the rough lengths because there's going to be a piece in the middle. Mainly, I'm going to run these to my woodpecker router table, and I don't want this big long sucker to grow to trim the ends. And I've got apparatus where I could make a bar and all that and slide it across. So I just kind of want to break it up. I don't want some real long one. I'd like to break this up into two sections. It's just what I want to do. You could let it long if you want, if you like that long look. But I think it would look nice with a divider in the center. And again, it's going to be the same size. I'm not going to put a thicker one in the middle or a thicker one at the bottom, and maybe a medium-sized one in the middle. Sometimes that's how you do that, but it's all up to you. I'm keeping it simple, and this is what I'm trying to convey to you as a beginner. Keep it simple. This is something to go in a garage, and especially like I heard someone say, which is so true. If you're practicing on dovetailing, things like that. Start out with a little box, and if it doesn't come out good, use it as a drawer or a box in your shop. Don't throw it away, keep it, but you learn as you go along. So, how I'm going to make the frames? There's a lot of ways you can. There's cutters you can use that'll make all these like cabinet type styles. Here's one here. And that's a way of making frames and doors for your cabinets. Those two cutters there, and they come in various sizes. I'm not going to do that though, but that's one way you can do it. And again, when you start getting this kind of stuff, you almost have to buy tools, like a router cable or make one if you can. Router bits to do all these different types of molding and stuff. Now, what I like to do, especially with thicker stock, is make my raised panels on a table saw, because I like the different cuts you can get. Don't have to mess around with a router and all that. You can make them router jigs, you can, as well as your router table. But you can use make your actual router jig, so you don't have to use a table, and just your routers place it, and you do different things with it. Man, what I'm thinking about is like volets. In France, the window shutters are called volets. Mainly, the volets are a very kind of a strict design, 1x6 pine, and it's usually 1.25 pine. 40 millimeters, right in that area, minimum 35, and but they're boards, and then they go crisscross the Z you see on movies. But I've also seen them where you use like inch and a quarter, inch and a half stock, and they make actual raised panels. Beautiful. And a lot of that's on a table saw. I mean, all different types of configurations you'd like to make. With some different variants. Again, you're working with a straight blade. You're not going to curve it, but you can get some really nice designs out of it. And it was good work. Good job. I really like that. And it's heavy, strong. This, again, is for you starting out something simple. You're not going to get raw stock and have to, plane it. You might not have, a joiner and a thickness planer, and then get all the twist out of it, with your little bars going across. This is simple. Get as straight stock as you possibly can. It's beautiful. It's clear. I mean, this is nothing wrong with this wood, I'm going to glue it, and how I'm going to attach it together. There's a lot of ways. I've got a biscuit joiners. I don't care that much for the Festool. What do you call it? It's like a floating tenon. It's good. It's a good tool. Don't get me wrong. For me, what I do and what I can do, and the amount I do, justify the cost. I mean, I have a great respect for the German engineering. I have the German sander, the block sander, which is the best. It's vibrator. It's like the old Rockwell. We used to call it chromey. Rockwell made a square pad in orbital, and it was chrome. And it's the same design, but Festool has it. It's good. Biscuit joiner, I could use biscuits, but I want something really solid. Biscuit's good, but I'm going dowels. And there's a lot of jigs you can use, but man, I think this is the best. It's very simple. Man, this sucker is built like a tank. And I mean, it does a great job, So it takes a little time, but I'm going to dowel all my frames, and I'm going to dowel these two boards that I'm going to be gluing together with this doweling jig. The design I'm going to put on this raised panel. Again, now here we're going back to having to buy some router bits. I've got 3 here that I'm going to show you. This one I haven't used yet. Still got the juice on it. I'll bring this up here to show you. Here, let's get this one here. See that? That will give you your cut on the perimeter of your panel, where it makes this little design, and it turns into a tongue at the end, and that tongue is what goes into the groove of your frame. And like I said, I've got 3 different styles there of shapes I might want to use, and it goes in your shaper table. Something else too, when you're cutting something like that on a shaper table, you always run your end grain first, and then just go around. You don't have to do 2 end grains and then go to sides. I've seen people do that. There's no need. Just start with your end grain and turn it 90 degrees, and go your long side and turn it, and go your end grain again and turn it, and finish with your last long side, and that works just fine. But what it does is, when you go through a long grain, the end grain, it like chatters. And so when you cut through it with your next side, it just eats all that up and blends it real nice. Just another thing to kind of be aware of when you're doing your paneling work. That's it, basically. That's what I'm going to be doing. The most probably important thing I'm going to show you is how to set up the shaper, and with a piece of MDF. I put a piece of MDF on all my shaper work, and I'll show you how I do it. Because when I do that, there's no gap at the cutter. I know you can bring the ends in them, but there's this gap there. I bring my ends in, and then I put my MDF in on top of that, and then I bring my cutter through the MDF. And the only thing that's sticking out of MDF is the silhouette of the knives that are going to make the configuration into your stock. That's all. There's no hole, nothing. So automatically that eliminates what they call Skype. I guess it's a term they use. I have a different term in France, where when you're going in or you're coming out, the piece seems to kind of dip in, especially if you've got feeders, power feeders going through it. It just kind of wants to dip because it's not up against the fence, and you got that pressure going on the fence, and all of a sudden it kind of tipped. Now you've got the fence with you all the way through the cut. So I mean, to me, it's just the best way to go. Not only that, but it's safe. It's a lot safer. I've said before how this young girl had cut all her fingers off in her right hand, just about all of them. And I know what project she was probably working on. It was back in France, just after I retired. So I was always setting up a shaper for them, and they supposedly went to school for all this. But the one girl was afraid of shapers. Two girls that the company hired, and the one was just afraid. They let it go. But this one guy who was going to be the next assistant foreman, man. Anyways, it's safe. If you cut yourself, it's just the blade right there. Your finger's not going to go in the hole and all that, get mangled. But with all that gross said, it's just a good way of building and installing a good habit of work, a work habit, especially when you're working on machines. Nothing to be afraid of. Just be smart and work safe. Don't try to be like the guy with his little fingers everywhere and all this jazz. And it's just stupid. It's like you're playing dice. You sooner or later you're gonna get bit. So, okay, with all that, I'm gonna shut this off, and I'll try to do the best I can to show you what I'm doing as far as setting up, because I've seen some other ones, and the camera behind my back and everything, and it's not that clear. I'll try to be better. So with that, we'll get to work. Okay. See you at the shaper table. Okay, here we go. Yesterday I told you I'm going to show you how to set this router up, and the method I think is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to set it, especially a shaper, a real man's machine. You see these guys that I put this piece up already, but for those of you who know what table is, these are the fences that come with it. They slide back and forth. And I've got, here's a fence down here, if you can see them, right here. That's the opening I have. Problem I had yesterday when I was setting up the cutter with a scrap piece, to put my MDF in front, I have to come out past the bit to push it back in to get the silhouette that I want, the exposure of the knives. And I couldn't. The dust collector back here and the size of the bit wouldn't allow me. So I'm just going to put another piece of MDF in front, and then put this main piece on it, and I'll have plenty of room to. Because what I have to do, I have to be able to bring it out past the bit itself at the spinning, and this extra 3/4 gives me that distance. So what I'm going to do now is secure it secure this piece like this. Screw it, turn it on, and I'm going to back it in to where, because I've got already marks on the table here. I've got marks here when I set it exactly where I want it for that distance. So I'm just going to bring it to those two hairline dimensions. This woodpecker table has graduations in 1/16 of an inch for adjustments. Not bad, really. It's really not bad at all. I know that the newer ones now are even finer than that. But hey, you know, if you know what you're doing, you know, it's really it works. It's plenty good. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with that, and you know, I'll show you the end results. All right. And that is it. I mean, how safe can that be? You've got a solid backboard for your piece to go through with no obstruction, no chance of Skype. There's no place for it to go. No, and you don't have this big hole. If you've got the fences over here, open back here, and you get all this open, you know, a lot of things can go wrong. I mean, at worst, you get a nip if you were to do something stupid, but you're not going to lose your whole hand. I mean, when these cutters are going, especially in the shaper, that thing can pull your whole hand in there. This, how long did it take? You know, I mean, it takes no time at all. And I'm telling you, it gives you a quality product too. Of course, if you have your power feeders too, again, it's going up against all this solid. It's not hitting on that open area, especially if you're doing small pieces. That's where it really gets bad. And I think that's what happened to this girl. I know what project she's working on, and I think she was doing the end cuts, the cross sections that are small, and I think that's what got her. And she didn't put that backer board like I told her. I can show her to. So I'm going to run the piece here and show you how I'm going to get some scrap piece here and then show you what it looks like.
So here we go, showing you a little cut here, how the tongue goes in, how it would look with the tongue going into the frame right there. I showed you one piece of the frame, and that's the panel. I hope you can make out what I'm showing you on each scrap piece of wood. One thing I want to talk about here is, first of all, your workpiece, almost always, the good side goes down on the table, all right? Almost always. There are some exceptions, but mostly the good side, the face, goes down on the surface of your router. That's how these cutters are designed to cut. The other thing is, this may sound silly, don't ever wear gloves. Some people, I don't know, you know, I've learned how to use gloves. I use gloves a lot. I can work fine with gloves. But in certain things, like especially on a shaper, a man's machine, but even a little router table, you know, there's no reason for it. I think a lot of time when you buy these plastic push things, they lull you in a false sense of security, and you get sloppy and you can get hurt. I believe on push things because sometimes you need it to counter Skype, not Skype, but the blowout from the end of your piece that you're doing. And also on table saws, I believe in, you know, you can make these certain push sticks, but not where your hands go right over the blade like some of these plastic things I see. That just, to me, it's crazy. Now here I made those all in one pass, and this panel came out really, really pretty. I think. You know, it's just you learn how to use these machines and you learn how to work safe, and you'd be surprised how you can save a lot of money by buying all this other junk. You see the silhouette there on the end cut? Nice, clean cut. Again, this is pine, but still, you know, you do things right, There's no dipping because you've got that continuous piece of MDF going through the blade. You got a continuous support. Here's some rapid shots of here's the back end. It's all glued up, ready to be installed. You've got another shot of the same back panel. This goes up against the wall, believe it or not. And here we go with the another. I believe, yeah, it's installed. And again, you want to see how the grain goes sideways. All right, on a long cut, grain goes sideways, and I kept all these rails the same width, 2-inch. On the ends, the grain goes vertical. It's called a cathedral. See a little point there? We call those cathedrals. Then they point up. They never go sideways. On a little piece like this, it always goes up and down. And those are called cathedrals. You see in the grain. Here's some other finishing shots in the corners. I put some 3/4 cove bead in there. Just trim it out, real nice. Very simple work, and yet it looks nice when it's finished. And of course, when you get a little urethane on there, it even looks nicer. So that's it. So here we have a case with some drawers. And they're all box joint construction. Came out really nice and clean, with the exception of the big drawer, which is made completely out of 3/4 plywood and the bottom. All the others are 1/2-inch sides and bottoms. Full extension glides. I also made these trays that I like. They slide out. Each drawer had 2 sets of these trays. So you had almost 2 inches of on 3 levels in each drawer, because the drawer is 6 inches deep. So all this can be completely removed if he doesn't like it, and just have a 6-inch drawer. But I found out he does like this, and he was really glad to have it. And again, I made a bunch of extra pieces so he can do what he wants with it.
Okay, here we are. We're at the stage of this bench build that I have been looking for a long time. It is August 2019, mid-August, 25th, I believe, late August, I should say. And, excuse me, it is hot. It has been really, really hot, as it always is in August, September. But this is Tom's top of his bench on my bench now. And some time ago, I had gotten the idea to do something a little special on his bench, among all the other things. This bench almost looks like furniture with raised panels and everything, even though the raised panels, the one is going up against the wall. But as I said, Tom, his profession was always in the pool business, tiling, refurbishing new pools, what have you. But he got to bowling, and he kind of hooked up with this one gal who was a touring pro. And he got so interested in bowling that he learned how to lay out bowling balls for drilling. And next thing you know, he got into the, and that proceeded to him buying even equipment, special drilling press and all that jazz for different types of apparatus for weighing the balls. It's all the whole gizmo. And he got so good at it that he exclusively drills his wife's balls, Robin Romeo, a famous pro. This bench that I have mentioned before in the video, how it came about. What I haven't mentioned is the top. Some time ago, I got to thinking, what can I do a little bit different, for Tom? Now, his bench top actually is going to be 6 feet long. The actual core, the bench is a few inches narrower than that, by about, I think, 5 to 6 inches. But the top is going to be 6 feet long. The width is 25 3/4. what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting the length right now after I get done with the video. Then I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to lay it out so it looks like an actual bowling lane with the pins. Now, in a bowling lane, it is from the foul line to the head pin is 60 feet, and then there's another, I think, 3 feet into the actual pit area. Of course, you've got the approach. This is just going to be from the foul line to the back of the pins, and I've got some walnut that I'm going to use for making. There's things called tracers in a bowling lane. They're every five boards. The width, by the way, of a bowling lane is 39 inches. I'll explain that later. But on both sides, it comes in 5 boards, and there's a tracer. Another 5 boards, another tracer, and the same for the right and left hand side, and they're staggered just a little bit. You got the pin deck, and then you got arrows. You've got 7 arrows that are in a lane, and then you've got the actual foul line, and there's some dots there. Again, 7 dots with the middle dot being the largest of the 7. Anyways, I'm going to lay this out, and I'm going to of course urethane everything. Now, if it's too shiny for him, he can always scuff it up. It's his bench, do whatever he wants to. But that's going to be the surprise. He has no idea what this bench looks like yet. He hasn't seen any pictures of it other than the core when I had glued the posts, the 4 bys into the 6 bys. And other than that, he hasn't seen any finish. So I've really been looking forward to it. I haven't done any work since I've been back from France. And of course, this is going to be nothing compared to what we did back there. But it's been a while, and I like doing it. Something else I found out, since I've been 40 years in this business, I hear certain terminology, how they've changed, and things change. I don't have any bones about it, but they call card scrapers. We call them cabinet scrapers back then. They call them card scrapers now. And the other thing is papillon. Papillon is butterfly in French. Butterflies, now they call them bow ties, which I understand. They look like a bow tie, but it's just somehow terminology kind of changes and all this. Then I saw something else. I was watching this guy said something about this the best way to make drawers, something like 4 quarters, something like that. And it's a 1/4-inch offset with a 1/4-inch groove and a 1/4-inch tongue, etc. And you do everything with one basic setup on a table saw. When I was an apprentice in California, we call that California corner. That's nothing new. A 1/4-inch dado with on your table saw, and you cut your front and back. It's almost like cutting lock miters. One's flat, and one's on the end. Well, same thing idea, but it's a quarter offset, quarter height. And you run your panel too, or if you got a 1/2 inch with the tongue on it, whatever. He was calling it something quarter, something like a brand new thing. Well, that's been around a long time, but it's a really great way to make drawers, no doubt about it. Anyways, so that's it. I'm going to be cutting to length, and then I'm going to start doing some layout work. And the other thing is a problem that I couldn't figure out is. Inlaying the foul line, the dots, making arrows and inlay those, that's not a problem. But at the pin deck, the location for the pins, which they're set automatically, but still they make a location for the pins. That's for when pins go off center, the mechanic goes back here and he replaces the pin on the location. It's a ring, a dark brown ring. I said, how in the world am I going to make that? Anyways, I came up with an idea, which is going to be pretty simple, actually. I'm going to cut a ring with a hole saw as neat as I can, and I'm just going to put some walnut putty in that groove. And then when I've tried it on some scrap pieces I have of the material, and it's not bad. So by the time I'm leaving everything rough, I'm not finishing it yet. So that when I do finish it, sometimes that putty got into some of the fine grains of the wood. When I surface all that down, it'll leave just a round ring. So there's always answers to everything if you can think about it. Other than that, I'm going to get to work, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy it, and other than that, I'm starting to wind this thing up, which has been a while, so I'm glad to see it finally come to an end. And that's it. I'll see you in the next video, which is the next click, right? Okay. Here we go. We'll get back to work. Okay, here we go. We're going to wrap this video up. I took a piece of 4x4, as you can see. I drilled it on my drill press, a nice straight true hole. I laid the hole right over my pencil layout, clamped it, and without the center hole on the hole cutter, I drilled it with this power drill, and about 3/8 of an inch deep. And filled it with walnut putty, and it came out slicker than you know what, really nice and easy. Here's I made with a block of walnut, 3/8 plugs and 1/2 inch plugs, and I drilled them accordingly and set them in the deck. Again, 3/8. That's 3/4 plywood, so 3/4 thick. Actually, probably 1/2 inch. I left them 1/2 inch deep. Yeah. Then I trimmed them with my plane, like I did everything else, and sanded it. And I did the same thing with the foul line. Here is the little jig I made to make my arrows, my walnut arrows on the bandsaw. Real simple. You can barely see the two guides at the bottom going to slots just below the plywood, so it runs straight, slides through the slots there. Real simple little jig there. And this is the product, the arrows that came from that. Came out really nice. They're all symmetrical, the same, and worked real simple. Came out real easy. Not a problem at all. And then I inlaid about 3/8 of an inch deep, like everything else at 3/4 thick. Here are my old chisels. Man, it's a little bit of money here. William Nelson, my chisels. That's a Mont Cherry, 2-inch cherry chisel. My dearly beloved had this in an apprentice. These are my dovetailing chisels. And like I said, when I'm not using my pencil, I want to use something sharp. Instead of mechanical, I go with that razor right there. That's my layout razor line. And there's my little wooden hammer. Pretty little bit of money laying right there in front of you. I'll tell you, but they're good. They're really, really, really good. They're made for dovetailing and close work, and you really need to have them. This little bit here in this big router is what I use to take out all the waste on my layouts with the inlays. This is my tray, my sharpening tray, to keep everything sharp. You need things really, really sharp when you're doing this kind of work, in my opinion, and I've got everything I need along with my putty there and water and a little putty knives, what have you. And here is, getting to the end here, is the bench with the wheels on it, the retractable wheels. You see the foul line there. Again, this is all finished. I had different jigs I made for the tracers, the straight cuts with my router. It was a work of love. They're the oak tracers, we call them tracers, and just a straight cut. And it was simple jig to make. Here's the table with some finish on it. A labor of love. I love doing it. It's for a friend of mine, and couldn't be happier. Everyone's asking me, are you going to be sad to let it go? No, not at all. It's a project, and I was glad to do it for him. And I hope he has many years of enjoyment out of it. Other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching. There's my email below. Remember,
Go in the shop, have a good time, work safe, and as always, don't use any putty. Okay? Have a good time, work safe. Bye-bye.